everyone, and a super warm welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are really digging into something I know hits home for, well, probably so many of you learning English. You get it, right? You can follow movies, podcasts, you can even chat in writing. But then when it comes to actually opening your mouth and speaking fluently, it just feels like something's disconnected.
Oh, absolutely. It's that incredibly frustrating gap, isn't it? You've taken in so much English over the years. It's all filed away in your head somewhere.
Yeah.
But getting it out smoothly, confidently, that can feel like a completely different challenge.
Exactly. And to help us really tackle that challenge, we have a truly, truly remarkable guest with us today, Dr. Speakeasy. Now, Dr. Speakeasy isn't just, any language expert. They have this almost uncanny knack for helping people smash through that I just can't speak barrier. Welcome. It's great to have you.
It's fantastic to be here. Thanks for having me. This is a topic I've spent a lot of time focusing on, and I genuinely believe, I really do, that by the end of our chat today, you listening will have some rock-solid strategies. Strategies to start speaking more fluently, almost right away.
That's exactly what we want to hear. So our mission today, everyone, is pretty simple. We're not just here to talk about the speaking struggle. We're going to arm you with actionable, super effective techniques. Techniques that, look, if you really commit to them, really commit, they will absolutely get you speaking English with more confidence than you ever thought possible. Okay, Dr. Speakeasy, let's just dive right in. So many people listening have spent years maybe learning English. They understand a ton, like we said, but speaking still feels like climbing Mount Everest. What is the real, the underlying issue here?
Yeah, that feeling of being stuck after years of input, it's so common. And honestly, it's often more of a mental block, than a knowledge gap. Think of it like this. Your brain has probably absorbed a massive amount of English. Vocabulary, grammar, structures. It's like a huge library in there. The challenge isn't that the books aren't on the shelves. It's about creating the right pathways to grab that book quickly, automatically, when you need it for speaking.
Okay, so the knowledge is actually there, just kind of waiting, locked away. How do we find the key?
Right. The key often lies in creating what I call active recall situations, or maybe stressful situations, but in a good way. See, passive learning, like watching videos or reading, it's fantastic for building understanding, no doubt. It's like learning to recognize all the parts of a car engine. But speaking, that's like actually getting behind the wheel and driving the car. You have to do it. You need to actively engage.
Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. Driving the car. So how do we get behind the wheel and start driving our English? What's step one?
Well, one of the most, and this might sound strange, but one of the most surprisingly effective techniques, and one I recommend to almost everyone starting out, is simply talking to yourself in English.
Talking to yourself? Really? How does that actually, help with real conversations?
Think about it this way. When you talk to yourself in English, what are you doing? You're practicing forming sentences, right?
Yeah.
You're pulling vocabulary out of that library we talked about.
Yeah.
And you're doing it all in a completely zero pressure zone. No one's listening, no one's judging. Just, describe what you're doing right now in English. Narrate your thoughts. Okay, now I'm making coffee. Or talk about your plans for the weekend. Even describing a random photo on your phone to an imaginary friend. It's incredibly beneficial. A lot of polyglots, people who speak many languages, they swear by this. It lets you rehearse, solidify things without that performance anxiety. It's like warming up your vocal cords before you sing.
Interesting. Yeah, it definitely lowers the stakes, takes the pressure off. Okay, what's another way to get into that active recall mode, that driving mode?
Another incredibly powerful tool, and this one gives you direct feedback, is recording yourself speaking English. Pick a topic, any topic you like. Doesn't need to be formal. Just talk for, say, a minute or two. The real magic, though, happens when you listen back. You'll probably notice, oh, I hesitated there. Or, I couldn't quite find the right word here. Maybe my pronunciation on that word could be clearer. It gives you really direct, objective data on your own speaking.
Ooh, that sounds a little intimidating, maybe? Listening back to yourself.
It can feel a bit strange at first, yeah. But try to approach it with, curiosity, not judgment. It's just a tool, right? A tool to help you see where you can grow. And another great strategy, kind of related, is to actively simulate real-life conversations. Do it in your head or even out loud if you're comfortable. Imagine you're ordering food. Imagine introducing yourself at a party, asking for directions. Play out the English dialogue you'd use. Mentally rehearse it. This kind of mental prep work can make the actual situations feel way less daunting when they pop up.
So it's really all about actively producing the language,
Yeah.
making the sounds, forming the sentences, not just absorbing it passively.
Exactly. That's the core of it. We see so many learners who focus maybe too heavily on input,
Hmm.
reading, listening. And look, that stuff is crucial. It builds your foundation. But fluency in speaking, that demands consistent output, actually speaking, actually writing. You need to actively use the language for it to stick and become easy to access.
Oh, okay, got it. Prioritize speaking practice, output. But what about the fear? The fear of making mistakes? That's huge for so many people. It holds them back.
Ah, yes, the fear. This is where a fundamental shift in mindset is, well, it's absolutely essential, non-negotiable almost. You have to prioritize fluency over perfection, especially
Hmm.
when you're starting to speak more. Think about how babies learn to talk. Seriously, they make tons of mistakes, right? Grammar's all over the place, pronunciation is shaky, but they still manage to communicate what they want, and people understand them. Your main goal when you speak should be getting your message across. Communication first, not flawless grammar right out of the gate.
That's actually a great way to frame it. Focus on the message. So we should
Yeah.
actually embrace the mistakes we make.
100%, yes. Reframe them. Mistakes are not failures. They are incredibly valuable learning opportunities. Honestly, you need to develop a sense of humor about them. If you can, laugh it off. Every single person learning a language makes mistakes. It's just part of the process, unavoidable. The key is not letting that fear of messing up paralyze you, stop you from even trying. I've seen people, with maybe basic or intermediate English communicate really effectively. Why? Because they weren't afraid to try, to make mistakes. They just focused on getting their meaning out there. And conversely, I've seen very advanced learners who are almost silent because they're so worried about saying something perfectly, it holds them back.
Wow, that's a really powerful point. Communication over correctness,
Yeah.
especially at first. What else can we do mindset-wise?
Okay, another big one. Try to consciously stop translating everything in your head from your first language before you speak. That whole process, it's slow. It makes your speech choppy. And it often leads to sentences that just sound unnatural in English.
Yeah.
You need to train yourself, actively train yourself to start thinking directly in English. It takes practice, for sure. It won't happen overnight, but make a conscious effort. When you're thinking about your day, try to do it in English. Also, you absolutely have to manage those negative thoughts. The ones that creep in like, oh, I'm just bad at languages or I'll never be fluent.
Mm.
You have to challenge those thoughts. Recognize them and replace them with something more positive, more realistic. Focus on the progress you have made, even if it feels small. Remind yourself that consistent practice does lead to improvement. It always does.
Okay, mindset shift. Super crucial. Got it. Now let's get into some more specific practice techniques people can actually use day to day.
Right, practical stuff. Okay, one highly effective approach is what I call topic-based learning. So instead of just memorizing random lists of words, organize your learning around common themes, topics you actually talk about or want to talk about. Things like your hobbies, your job, family, travel, food, everyday things. Get a dedicated notebook or a section in your notes app, whatever works for you, and jot down new words, new phrases related to each topic as you come across them.
That sounds really practical, like building vocabulary you'll actually use.
Exactly, it makes it relevant. And building on that idea, consider creating and using prefabricated sentences, or maybe sentence templates. So for those common topics, work, hobbies, etc., actually write out several example sentences beforehand. Use different structures, different vocabulary related to that topic. I enjoy hiking because, my job involves, last weekend I went, Doing this prepares your brain. It gives you ready-made chunks, so recalling them in a real conversation becomes much, much easier. You've already done the heavy lifting. There are tons of online tools, too, like sentence dictionaries that can help you find examples.
So it's kind of like having ready-made building blocks for conversations. Take some pressure off finding the words on the spot.
Precisely. It prepares you for those common scenarios. Another vital technique, we touched on it earlier, is active recall. Don't just passively reread your vocabulary lists or notes. That's not very effective for speaking. Actively test yourself. Cover the English word, look at the definition or your native language word, and try to retrieve the English word from memory. Or try using the new word in a sentence immediately. This active retrieval process strengthens those neural connections way more effectively. Makes the words easier to grab when you're talking.
Active recall, yeah, I've heard that's super effective for any kind of learning, not just languages.
It truly is. It works. And now, for improving your actual sound, your pronunciation, your rhythm, that natural flow of English, shadowing is incredibly beneficial.
Shadowing, what's that exactly?
It's basically like being an echo. You find short audio or video clips of native English speakers talking. Listen to a short phrase or sentence, then immediately repeat it out loud. Try to mimic everything, their intonation, the ups and downs, the rhythm, even their accent, as closely as you can. This helps build a muscle memory for the sounds of English. It trains your mouth, your tongue, how to move.
Shadowing, like literally repeating right after them. Got it.
Exactly. It helps you get a feel for the music of the language. And speaking of sounding natural, really focus on learning and using common phrases and chunks of language, collocations, idioms. Don't just learn individual words in isolation. Learn how words typically go together. Native speakers use these expressions, these chunks, all the time without thinking. Incorporating them makes your English sound much more natural, much more fluent.
That makes total sense. It's about learning how people actually speak the language day to day.
Absolutely. And look, to build your confidence, especially early on, try practicing in low-pressure situations first. Speak with people you feel comfortable with. Friends, family members, maybe other language learners who understand the struggle. Language exchange apps are fantastic for this too. You can connect with other learners, often at a similar level, and practice together.
Yeah, start small, build up that confidence gradually.
Exactly. Baby steps. Now, here's a slightly unconventional tip, but surprisingly effective. Try calling customer support lines of English-speaking companies.
Whoa, really? Customer support?
Yeah. Think about it. It's very low-stakes practice. The people on the other end, they're trained to be patient, right? They have to understand you, have a clear reason for calling, even if it's a simple question about a product or service. Use simple language. Think about booking websites, big international companies. You'll likely never talk to that person again, so the anxiety factor is much lower.
Huh, that's a bold move. But I can actually see how that could be really good, practical, real-world practice.
It forces you to communicate a need. And of course, if it's feasible for you, immersion is incredibly powerful. Traveling to or living in an English-speaking country, even for a short while, the constant exposure, the sheer necessity of using English for everything, it just forces your brain to adapt, to activate all that knowledge you've stored up.
Immersion, yeah, the ultimate deep dive, you could say. Now, a theme that keeps coming up here is consistency.
Absolutely vital, crucial. You need to create a realistic learning plan. And stick to it. Schedule specific times for speaking practice. Even short, regular sessions, maybe just 15-20 minutes a day, are far more effective than one long, infrequent session. Make practicing your English speaking a daily habit, like brushing your teeth, like having breakfast. Consistency is absolutely key to building momentum and seeing real progress.
So treat it like any other important part of your daily routine. Don't just wait until you feel like it.
It's exactly right. And here's a kind of guiding principle I like to suggest. Call it the now method. Focus your learning energy on vocabulary and phrases that are immediately relevant and useful to you right now, or very soon. Ask yourself, can I realistically see myself using this word or phrase in the next week, or is this topic something I actually want to talk about soon? This helps you prioritize. Learn what you'll actually use in your real life, rather than just accumulating tons of vocabulary that sits dormant.
The now method. I like that. Focus on immediate applicability. Makes sense.
And finally, one last point, but it's important. While all this self-practice talking to yourself, recording, simulating is incredibly valuable, don't underestimate the power of feedback from others. Recording yourself gives you some feedback, yes. But having another person, ideally someone proficient, listen to you. They can point out specific grammar patterns you might be missing, suggest better word choices, help fine-tune your pronunciation in ways you might not notice yourself. So seek out those language exchange partners. Or if possible, consider working with a tutor occasionally for that targeted feedback.
Feedback, yeah, like a compass. Helps make sure you're heading in the right direction and not reinforcing mistakes. Dr. Speakeasy, wow, this has been absolutely jam-packed with actionable, powerful advice.
It's been my pleasure. Seriously, remember, the ability to speak English fluently, it is absolutely within your reach. It's not about some magical innate talent that you either have or you don't. That's a myth. It's truly about consistent, focused effort and, crucially, using the right strategies, the ones we've talked about.
So the big takeaway here seems to be that the ability, the knowledge, it's likely already inside us. We just need to create the right conditions, use the right tools, the right mindset to unlock it.
Precisely. That's it, exactly. Start putting these techniques into practice consistently. And I guarantee you will be amazed at the progress you make. You really will.
Amazing. Yeah. So, to everyone listening, here's the challenge. Pick just one, or maybe two. Just one or two of these powerful techniques Dr. Speakeasy shared today, and commit. Commit to trying them immediately and consistently, starting today. Prove it to yourself. Prove that you absolutely can overcome this speaking challenge. You can do it. Dr. Speakeasy, thank you so much for sharing your, well, truly unparalleled insights with us today. This was fantastic.
It was my genuine pleasure. Happy speaking, everyone.
And that brings us to the end of this, I think, incredibly insightful deep dive. Remember, keep practicing, keep pushing yourself gently, and keep unlocking that English speaking potential you have inside you. Until next time, keep your English sharp.